Please give a round of applause for Wamide Animashaun. Please give that round of applause. I need it to be really, really loud.
Thank you, Awazi. Hi, everyone. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about a framework to transition, right? Very many times you come to events like this and you get all inspired, right? But I want you to go here with a tool, a framework, something that you can go back to and then figure this thing out on your own, because the truth is you actually can. So, if you can relate to feeling, I don't know, unfulfilled, maybe in your current role, don't worry, if your employers are here, don't raise your hand. But if you feel like you can be so much more, is there anyone like that in the room that kind of feels like, hey, I'm at X stage right now, but I can be so much more? Can I see a show of hands? Awesome. If you're feeling like, okay, I currently feel like I'm undervalued, or I don't kind of know what I'm doing and I want to figure something out. Is there anyone like that? Next slide, please. Like Awazi said, I'm Wamide, and I lead the ecosystem and partnerships team at Propel. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what Propel does, but right now I'm just going to talk through transitioning and give you, like I said, a framework for navigating your career change. Now, my story is that, coincidentally, in November, so November actually marked my 10th year in my career. And sometimes I feel like I don't look it, or even I don't even feel it, right? But in November, I clocked 10 years, and in November 2013, I got my first role as a techie at the time. I was a front-end developer at Jumia. And in those 10 years, I have transitioned 5 times. I've never held the same job title. So for every single role that I've gotten into, it's been different. So I've gone from front-end development into tech consulting, where I worked with PwC. And then after that, I took a year gap and went for an MBA in Greece. While I was in Greece, I met someone, and I connected to another startup here in Nigeria and started working there. And then eventually, I moved into oil and gas. And now, I'm back in tech. So, key objectives for this particular session would be really to just identify what the opportunities are in the tech ecosystem for mostly no-code tech roles. We'll also talk through what you need to consider when you're choosing your next tech role, whether you're looking to transition or whether you're looking to land your first job. Then we'll talk about how to showcase your impact, especially for those who are looking to move from one field to another or move to another industry. And lastly, we'll talk about the role of Propel in helping you navigate that transition and helping you get the next best role. So I always say that there are tons of opportunities, right? When I started my career, at the time, it wasn't called product design. It was mostly people with those skills were graphic designers, right? But that's the beauty about just developing yourself and starting with where you are or what you have. Somehow it evolves, and you start to find what you can enjoy, or you start to find a certain place where you can apply your skills. So in terms of opportunities, right, we took a look at some stats, particularly in Europe, and found out that especially in just Q1 of last year, there were almost 1 million roles in tech. Some of these roles we have heard of as of today. Some of these roles didn't exist even 10 years ago. Heck, some of them didn't exist 5 years ago. And with the advent of AI and all the million and one things that are still coming up, there are a ton of different roles that are going to keep coming up in the next couple of years. Now, the funny thing is, out of all of these 1 million roles, about 50% of those roles went unfilled, which pretty much means that there's room. There's room for people to get jobs. There's room for people to get access to all of these opportunities. And it's also projected that in the next couple of years, there's going to be more roles, right? So let me show you a couple of roles. Next slide, please. Let me show you a couple of roles that are within tech for no-code tech people. You've probably already seen this around. You've probably already even seen this outside. And I think that the team at No Code Tech Summit, they do a really good job of just bringing to fore what kind of no-code tech roles exist. So From this, you can see that there are tons of opportunities. But one key opportunity or one key role that I'm missing here is operations, right? There are people that do all of the behind the scene work, whether in a, for instance, say gray or even Piggyverse. There are probably people in operations that are doing work day to day just to keep the lights on, right? So there are various roles from program and project management to being a scrum master, to being a UX researcher, and so on and so forth. Another key one that is not here is QA. So we all know that for every product that we build, we have to test it. That's also another key role. Next slide. So let's talk about how to choose your next role if you're looking to transition. I'm someone who's very, very, very passionate about making sure that you find roles that align with you as a person. Because we're so multifaceted and we're so diverse as individuals, it can often mean that the way that roles are coined may not always align with you, or even the other way around, where you're wondering, what am I really good at? What do I want to do? And all of those things. Now, if you're looking to transition, here's the first tip I'll tell you. Clarify your why. It's a no-brainer that if you want to move from A to B, or you want to go from X to Z, you need to know why you're doing that. Be clear about why exactly you want to transition. It's fine if it's about money. There's no problem with it. But just be clear that, okay, this thing that I want to do is because I want to move from A to B, right? Once you clarify your intent, then you need to audit your now. And I'll give you a framework to kind of figure that out. Auditing your now really involves sitting down with yourself and asking some hard questions. Hard questions like, what am I good at and where do I excel? What do I find? Just think about it, not just in terms of you. Ask the people around you. In fact, you can go as far as asking your parents, what did I do well as a kid? You'd be surprised that a lot of people today, the things that they finally go back into involve the things that they excelled on as little kids. So think about the places where, or the areas where someone has said, oh, that was a really good job, or that's something you really did well. And once you've audited your now, then use that as an opportunity to find out what the gaps are. It's important to be able to know that, hey, I want to move from A to B, but I don't think that I have enough skills in this area. And there's no big deal in figuring that out. But what you should do once you know that there is a skill gap is to actually close that gap. It might mean taking a course or taking a certification or just volunteering to learn more. Just make sure that you're finding a way to close that gap, because there's no point in wishing where you are when there's actually something you can do about getting to where you want to be. And then the final thing is take a chance on you. Now, taking a chance on you can look very different for different people. My past 3 roles, I got them just strictly through networking. I was at an event in Greece, somewhere I had never been before. Someone walked up to me and says, hey, I see you're a Nigerian, or I heard you're a Nigerian. Do you know ABC person? I'm like, no, I've never heard of that person. Can you show me more and tell me more about him? And then we just talk, bounce ideas off each other. And next thing, he's saying, I think I know someone who's looking to hire someone like you. At the time, I was already bored with consulting. I was bored with whatever I was doing. And I just wanted to give, my MBA some energy or some work. I'm like, I've learned this, let me figure out how to do it anyway, right? So don't ever underestimate the power of the people around you. It shouldn't always only be about the people that you know. There could also be people that you do not know. And so at events like this, be intentional about meeting people and talking to people and just creating relationships, right? So let's talk about the framework a little bit. When I started transitioning, I basically moved from front end to tech consulting. That first transition was easy because I applied for the same job. I applied for the different jobs at the same time. And what I was going into at PwC was a graduate entry role. So it was a graduate trainee role. It wasn't that they were looking for somebody that was already experienced. So I didn't necessarily have to think about how do I sell myself. All I really had to show was potential, right? But after I was done there and I was looking to go into even this role that I mentioned that somebody introduced me to, the first thing that they asked is, hey, I want you to come and set up and manage operations at XYZ company. Can you show me how you've done that in the past couple of years? The experience that I picked on was what I had done at my nonprofit. I basically said, hey, I've run a community for X number of years. I currently work with volunteers. I currently work with people who are also my friends. And if I've been able to manage them to do work, then I can also manage other people to do work. So this is what we're saying in terms of showing your skills, volunteering, and just being able to translate some of the things that you've done into connecting to the next role. So one key thing in terms of thinking about where you are right now is this framework at the top. I also have a couple of resources here that you can check out. The first one is a free workbook, which is kind of like a SWOT analysis workbook. I'll ask you questions where you can figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and even the threats or the fears, the things that you haven't thought of that are actually holding you back from living that life or getting that fulfilled job that you want. So check out sailor.co/that's FYOP, find your own potential. So in terms of the framework on top, I want you to kind of think about where you are right now. Think about what you currently do. The field on the left basically consists of what you can call your values. You can decide to change it up in anything that aligns or works for you. So if learning is something that is useful for you, include that. If impact is something that's useful for you, include that. If connection is something that's useful for you, include that. But you can basically switch it up, is my point. Then think about what exactly you've liked so far. Is it the team? Is it the day-to-day? Is it the culture? Is it the skill sets that you're able to bring to the table? So you can take that time to kind of think over what are the things that I currently enjoy where I am. So let me give you an example. I was working at PwC, and even though I got access to a ton of amazing people, I got to work with C-suite executives, and I got to do work that was actually really impactful, working with tier 1 banks to transform their business operations. I had gotten bored because the project had gone on for a while. And so if I were to fill this framework, I would put things like, I'm fine with my learning. Learning and development was covered on a regular, but I wasn't fine with my impact. I felt like what I was doing was too B2B, and I couldn't kind of bring that out and say, hey, this is how I'm impacting the X person on the streets. And so in my next role, that's pretty much what I was looking out for, where I'm saying, I want the opportunity to be able to impact XYZ person, right? So think about that in that sense. And that's why I've also gone ahead to work with Propel, right? At Propel, we're basically building an all-in-one platform that helps talent, whether you're a developer or you're a designer or you're a QA or whatever, we're helping you to land your next best opportunity. And we're doing that through our platform and also through your community, right? Communities are the building blocks of a lot of work on the continent. They bring you together, they set up these events, they give you opportunities to people, but we want to take that a step further and give you a structured way to land jobs, give you a structured way to earn money, give you a structured way to get access to device financing. And so we offer a platform that basically connects talent to a world of opportunities, jobs, finance, and other perks and deals. So if you're part of the Trefford community, because I know that there are 2 communities represented here, if you're part of the Trefford community, you simply need to check out this QR code. We also have a booth upstairs, and you can just come all the way down and we can talk you through it. If you're part of the NCIT community, on the other hand, you simply need to scan that QR code or go to the website as well, propel.community. You can search for your community on there, create an account, and then get access to all of these opportunities that we've mentioned. Of course, if you need any support or you need any assistance with getting on board, you can come talk to me. I'll be somewhere around, or you can check out our booth all the way upstairs. It's pretty easy. Once you get access to this link, enter your email address, verify and create your profile, and you can move from there and get connected to these opportunities. Thank you all, and if you have any further questions, I'll be happy to help.
Please put your hands together for her, ladies and gentlemen.